It's a privilege to be here. And I was asked to talk to you about women in STEM and how we can be the change. And I hope that after this talk, you will understand why we do what we are doing and why we are so passionate about it. By the way, you guys all heard Dulcie at the bottom. I don't know if you see do you see my pointer? Do you see the pointer on the screen? Well, this is Dulcie, yes. And she made this drawing during the summer physics camp when we talked about creating a battery, and someone had a question, can we light an LED with our tongue? And here was Dulcie's rendition. So we had a lot of fun. Not only we have great scientists coming to the camp, but we also have amazing and creative artists, as you can see. So let's see if I figure this out. Yes, so I was born in Barcelona. For those of you who don't know, Barcelona is in the northeast of Spain. I have a map of Spain over there. And I was born in the city. And as you can see on the top left, the city has kind of square lines, like straight streets. So I have no sense of direction, because to orient yourself in Barcelona, you would say this street, seaside, or mountainside, right? So it was a mess when I went to Grenoble and so on, when people would give me directions with north, south, east, or west. Barcelona has a long history. In fact, it was there remains from the Neanderthal times, but it was founded by the Romans 100 years before Christ. And every time you dig a hole in Barcelona, you find the remains of something. So you can imagine what a change it has been for me to come to the US when you come from such a historical place. We also had very strong soccer team. And yes, I am a fan of Barca. Loy asked me to tell you something more about me. So I was born in a big family. I'm the youngest of a family of 5. Here are my parents in what looks like prehistorical pictures. Both my father and my mother were the sons and daughters of widows, because as some of you might know, between 1936 and 39, there was a civil war in Spain. Wars are terrible things. They cost lots of lives. And it took away the life of my grandfathers. So here they were, 2 widows trying to, with 2 children, each of them, my mom's mom and my dad's mom, trying to find a way through life with 2 little children. Mind you, women were not supposed to work at that time. So my parents met each other, and they decided that they wanted to have a big family. I forgot to mention that because the civil war was happening in Spain, my parents didn't have money. The family was relatively poor, again, sons of widows. And also my father had to go to work very young. So when he met my mom and they wanted to have a big family, they had a very strong conviction that they were gonna fight so their children would have an education. My dad became an optician. Here is in his little work table at home when he retired. And they had 5 children. This is a picture of my family a few years ago. So, and I don't know how many grandchildren and great-grandchildren they would have right now. This is me when I was young. And I love to watch my father, play with, fix things. Because when you don't have money, you don't buy new stuff. You just fix things, right? And I would sit next to my dad and ask him questions. One thing that this at the bottom is a picture of my brother, 2 of my sisters and my brothers. All my brothers and sisters are opticians like my father. I'm the black goat, or how you call it, black sheep, not black goat. A black sheep of the family. I didn't go in to become an optician. But an important fact here is that my father always said that if we wanted to get married, we had to get a college degree. It was a condition to get married, to have a college degree. There was no way out. So my father's opinion was pick whatever you want, but just get a degree. You never know what's going to happen in life. And I'm very thankful for his encouragement about that. And you'll hear more about that. I went to a nearly girls only school. You can see me at the back here. There were very few boys in my classroom. My classroom was the first with a few boys. So it never occurred to me that girls couldn't do science, right? When I was this age here, I wanted to be a teacher. I admire teachers. All my teachers were women. So, hey, I was going to be a teacher. And then when I went to the same school until I turned 18, you see here, we were mainly girls. We lost most of the boys by the time. I could have been a medical doctor, a teacher, a physicist. I had no clue what I was going to be. But anyways, I applied to go to the University of Barcelona, and I became a physicist. Here you see with the beret thing. And it was not an easy road. I started physics. I made myself, I got sick, and I had to quit for a year. And it's very tough to then go back and face your fears. But I did it, and I'm very pleased I did it. When I went back to school after spending 1 year babysitting and working, and I decided I didn't want to do that life, I wanted to go back to school, I just went straight and I finished my degree. So as Julia mentioned, yeah, I was born in Barcelona, I went to school, and then when I was in the university, a professor asked me if I was interested in working in the summer. I said, oh, yeah, sure, why not? And I went to his lab in his department, and then I got in touch with people next door that were from the Institut de Ciencias de Materials de Barcelona. And I got this kind of a grant. It was not really a grant, an opportunity to visit, talk to different people in this research institute. And every week I would spend an hour or 2 hours with one of the scientists there. And I met someone, Jose Luis Garcia Munoz, who I really liked. Well, I was decided to do a PhD. None of my family members had a PhD, so they had no clue what I was talking about. But Jose Luis encouraged me to go and have a PhD, but I didn't want to do a PhD if I wasn't being paid. I remember I was living at my parents' house. And by chance, I ended up having the opportunity to do an Erasmus in Grenoble, which is a 3-month period stage, we call it, in Grenoble. And I went to Grenoble. I had never been in Grenoble. Mind you, Grenoble is in the middle of the Alps. It has a neutron reactor, a synchrotron, and tons of ski and a river to do kayak. It's an amazing nature-wise. I went to Grenoble to the Laboratoire Winel, and I spent 3 months. And then I asked, hey, could I do my PhD here? And they said, of course. Just, we'll figure out a way. And yeah, and then I did my PhD. So I was granted a PhD by University of Grenoble and University of Barcelona. And I did a lot of work here at the synchrotron and at neutron reactor, but I also grew thin films. I was done with my PhD. And then I said, well, I need to do a postdoc because my goal was to come back to Grenoble, where at the time I had a boyfriend, right? I had been with this boyfriend for 5 years, but I had to leave and to then come back. So I got an offer to go to Scotland to do my postdoc. And all of a sudden, I got this email from Los Alamos National Laboratory. They were offering me to do a postdoc in New Mexico. I didn't even know where New Mexico was. But I said, why not? And I said, well, I've been in Scotland. Let's go to America. So in 2001, I landed in New Mexico. As I promised, I had never been in the US. I just landed in New Mexico. I drove the 2-hour-long road to Los Alamos. This is Los Alamos. Outdoors is amazing, and it has an amazing national lab. But that was a very big leap of faith, right? So I landed in Los Alamos, and I started my postdoc. And during that time, I broke up with my partner from Grenoble, and I met who became my husband in Los Alamos, and my postdoc ended. And now what? Well, I asked, well, would you, is there a job for me in Los Alamos? And I was offered the job in Los Alamos, and I've been there since 2001. And yes, and I also have a life. I gave birth to 2 children, Antonia and Gloria. Here they are silly like hell. They make me do silly things. And I became a single mom. So when Gloria was 1.5 years and Antonia 3 years old, I got divorced from my husband. And I'm, again, very thankful to my father for my education to be able to navigate the tough times. It's very tough to be a single mom. It's very tough to be a single mom away from your family. But we made it happen. We persist. We don't give up. And we enjoy going outdoors. There's a lot of skiing in New Mexico, lots of hiking. We go to Spain once a year with my kids. Here's at the Barça at the Barça field, and we enjoy the outdoors. And as I mentioned earlier, we have chickens and chihuahuas. And we also have 2 guinea pigs. My daughter loves theater, and I'm happily with someone, another adult with whom some of you have met. I think Dulcie met him yesterday. His name is Tracy, and he's a pharmacist. And hopefully we'll be together for a long, long, long time. So I would like to ask you all a question, finish that sentence. Anna's personal path was, and I can barely read the I can barely read the chat, but either mute yourself or write to the chat. What do you think my personal path was? Was it a straight line? So cool. Yeah. Looking at it from now, it looks cool, huh? Anyone else? Not a straight line. No, it was not a straight line. Full of adventure. Yeah, but adventure is scary, right? So, hey, I had to take some risks. Do you think I felt comfortable when I asked for a job or when I asked for my PhD and things like that?
Shana says it was bumpy, but worth it.
Yeah, it was bumpy, but worth it. Yes, that's correct. That's right. So my personal path was not a straight line. And I want to tell you that I didn't know what I was going to be. I didn't know what I was going to end up being. But when I was your age, I had no clue. I could have been a medical doctor for all I know, right? Or I could have gone and worked at my parents' business store, opticians, and be an optician like my brothers and sister. I had no clue. So lesson learned, you know, we didn't have, even if we look like we got all our things straight in our head, we didn't have them straight. Anyway, so that's why I share my life, basically. So I was asked to talk about women in STEM, and here are the facts. We are heavily underrepresented in STEM occupations in the US. Women represent 48% of the workforce in the US, and only 1.8% of women are working in STEM. That's very small amount, okay? And National Science Foundation in 2019 published this report that says that although women, we have reached parity, which means that we're about the same amount than men in science and engineering bachelor's degrees, we're still represented when it comes to jobs, right? Not only women, but women and persons with disability and underrepresented minority groups. And mind you, many of us here are underrepresented minority groups, right? So why is that, right? Again, I remind you, I went to a girls only school, right? I never questioned that girls could be good, good at STEM or do STEM. Why do you think that we are so underrepresented in STEM? Anyone can give a guess? Type it on the chat, or if you wanna, if Loy allows you, unmute yourself. Why do you guys think that we are so underrepresented in STEM? Wild guess, come on. Our brains are smaller. Yeah, because Dulce says because being a minority and being singled out probably makes a lot of people feel intimidated. That could be a reason. Anyone else has a guess? Perception of a tough field. Oh yeah, we might think that it's too hard, right? Not a welcoming environment, gender stereotypes, Cassandra says. Well, many of the things have a pinch of truth, right? And we'll talk about them. So do you think that women are as capable as men to do science and engineering? I think so. When I was growing up in my girls' school, my teachers were all women, so it never questioned it. Do you guys think that men are smarter than women?
No.
No? No way. That's right. No way. We are not, there is no gender. This is smarter than the other one. And let's see if I can pass that. How many famous women in STEM do you actually know? Could you name more than 5? Can anyone name more than 5 famous women in STEM? It's hard, isn't it?
Okay, now I know my Sage Girls had all those posters.
Ah!
I know y'all can name 5. I know y'all can name what was on your door.
Yeah, after Sage, I bet you can, but before Sage, probably it was something hard. So the strategy to change what you just saw is to be the change, right? Don't expect others to change, to make changes. We need to be the change we want to see in the world. So the first thing is to have a strategy, is to understand what's going on, understand the problem, set specific goals, find a support team like the one you guys have here, develop a plan, right? And in our case with the camp, we had to secure funding and plan more and make it happen and learn from our mistakes and replan and so on. But we need to be the change we want the world to be. So the challenges of past and present of women in STEM basically fall in 3 major categories: culture, bias, and balance, right? And culture is that very often we don't hear about those stories, but also that the access of women to education came really late in time when compared to men. Here are some examples. And the one that in 1100s, Paris was already giving doctorates to male, but only in the 1800s, women were achieving their first doctorates. So what happened in these 700 years? Well, women were behind the scene doing whatever they could when they were not given access to that education. It's a culture thing. We cannot change the past. We can change the future, though, right? And what happened in the 20th century? Well, things changed, right? We had the first women to receive a Nobel Prize, Marie Curie, who received both two Nobel Prizes, and you all from Sage, California, or from New Mexico or Hawaii have access to a variety of role models. So these are really untold history of women in STEM. And we need to learn about it so we can share it with our colleagues and so on. We've been behind the scenes making things happen at the same time as men were doing it, right? Here are some women. Here's a link to the website, and they are very nice narrations of history of the women presented here. So we lack, in fact, STEM role models. How can you think that you can be imagine and dream that you can be an astronaut if you don't have any pictures? In the Yale, I was reading about Yale, there was this dude wall, right? These pictures of white men that were professors. Where were the women, right? How can you think I'm going to be a professor in physics if you couldn't see a woman that looked like you? Not only a woman, but a woman that looked like you in there. So I collected this list of women in national laboratories. And I believe you all will meet Kim Budil in August. And she's the first female woman director at a Livermore National Laboratory. What happens in the media? Well, guess what? Whenever you would talk science, you would see the science man, the big white professor from Fermilab. Well, little by little, more women are making that change. And we see more podcasts and YouTube of women coming out and exposing themselves, right? Do you think it's easy for them? Probably not, but they do it nevertheless, right? So let's be the change. So in 2020, UNICEF study shows that the gender gap between women and men, when it comes to STEM, it's heavily impacted by the interest or or how much fun do we have, right? And the gender norms. Oh, this is for boys, this is for girls, and stereotypes and bias, right? So when we looked at that, and we asked ourselves, how can we be the change we want in the world? then we decided to start the summer physics camp in 2016. And that's the areas where we were trying to tap into when it came to changing those stereotypes and inspiring women, right? So the solution for changing is to empower young women so they see also more role models, women role models around them, and to support the educators that work very hard, bless their heart. I couldn't be a teacher in a public school, and create opportunity, as you heard from Julia, so we can help you go through all the stages. But you need to be an ally as well from your colleagues and your friends and your girlfriends, right? When you see them down, you give them that hand and pull them out of the hole. And so we can bring this change to school or workplace. You need to understand what you're facing to be able to speak up as well. So very often we hear, well, you know, women don't go into STEM fields. And that's why there are so few women in the workplace. Well, that depends, that depends. In fact, as you see, if you look here, there are some fields like physics, engineering, computer science, and math, where women are relatively small percentage going into bachelor's, master's, or doctorates, right? There is a large percentage in bio, sociology, psychology, which are also considered STEM. So we are working hard in these fields to bring to you all these role models so you realize that you're not alone. There are plenty of women out there. We just don't appear on your TV screen, right? And we hope that you're going to be the next ones that are going to be in those camps. So the trends have changed on here is, for example, in physics, how many women got bachelor's degrees in 97, 2006, and 2016. You see, this is stagnant. We don't seem to break out of these, but more women are getting doctorates. What does that mean? That these women, then they might end up in national labs. Before 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it was much less. So there is hope here. In other fields like computer science, there are less women that are getting bachelor's degrees. And yes, we need to be the change we want the world to be. Women are the ones that initiated the computer science world. If you read about it, they were the computers. Women were the computers. Another thing that I mentioned is culture, balance, and bias, right? Well, balance. What we hear is that women, we make personal choices about family prioritization. Guess what? I, as a physicist, what did I do when I hear that? I go into the research. I don't just go and believe what my colleagues say, right? So I went and looked at peer-reviewed research, and what the research says is that half of the new mothers and a quarter of the new fathers leave a full-time STEM employment, which means that you go from full-time to part-time maybe when you have children, right? We are parity. We are both responsible for our families. It's not just a women's job or a man's job, right? So we're getting there. But they also concluded that irrespective of variation by discipline, race, or other demographic factors, parenthood is not impacting long-term the labor market disparities. What does that mean? That means that we cannot attribute to parenting or motherhood the fact that there are less women in STEM than men. So what can we do about it? Hey, I was a single mom. It was tough. Yes. Well, I have teenagers. It's tougher now. But you can do it. And if you are surrounded with your family, you can do it too. And it's much easier, right? You don't need to give up one thing for another. You can have it both. Other things that we hear is that, oh, women are difficult. They get in trouble and they just leave. And here's the bad news to you all. I'm going to tell you, education is power. If you understand what happens and how to deal with it, that's your Wonder Woman power tools, right? Well, it turns out that, nearly 71% of women experience some kind of harassment during their careers. Often happens in their, by their superiors, let's put it this way. And that's very discouraging. So we need to talk about it, and you're not alone. It happens when you hear that 3 out of 4 women have at some point in their career life in STEM experienced this kind of approaches. Hey, team up, talk about it. And next time, come up with good strategies to get out of difficult situations, and please report. If anything happens, just report it. So those of us who are already in the workplace, we need to empower you all to speak up and to talk about it. And we need to have zero tolerance to any kind of harassment. And if you see harassment, you need to speak up too. If you see someone doing something to someone else, you need to speak up, because even if it doesn't happen to you, you are responsible for letting it happen. So that's important. And when it comes to bias, I asked myself, I don't know how many of you saw this picture of a scientist movie. I watched it. It was heartbreaking. But because something is heartbreaking doesn't mean that we cannot do anything about it. It's the opposite. It fuels me to do something about it and find a solution. So here is how men in yellow and women in green, how men and women, see different things. Here's the percentage who said the major reason for lack of gender diversity in STEM is lesser men thought it was discrimination than women. Both men and women thought that girls are not encouraged to pursue STEM subjects from an early age. At least we agreed here. But if you look everywhere else, men and women, we don't seem to be watching the same movie. We don't seem to be watching the same reality. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's up to us to speak up and to make things change, right? So let's be an ally. Let's engage with each other, encourage and empower. Don't throw your colleagues down under the bus and things like that. Very often we women feel that we are treated as we were not competent. These are called microaggressions, and it gets tiring, right? But guess what? It's not just you. I have the same, and I bet Julia and Diana and Lloyd, we all feel the same. But when we talk about it, when we get together and we talk about it, and we bring with our male colleagues and we explain to them how we feel when they say this or when they say that, then we can make change. So the reality is that STEM jobs tend to lead to higher earnings. And that's really important. Thanks to my education, thanks to my job, I was able to raise my children. I was able to give them the best I could, which is not only my education, but a lifestyle, access to, for them to have education and so on. We struggle, like any divorced person struggles with 2 little children, but we made it happen. So again, had I had another type of job that didn't allow me, a little bit of flexibility and so on, it would have been very hard. Yet women, we still keep earning a little bit less than men. But that's something that we need to change. Very often we don't have access to these higher jobs, but that's something that is changing. And I hope when you get there, you are not gonna, these disparities are gonna be reduced. So, so far I've given you some strategies for change. It's to inspire, to empower, to expose to role models, mentor, to team up, and to together with our colleagues, women and men, we can change that culture. So the outreach efforts that we have been, undertaking aim at inspiring, empowering, and impacting also local schools. And as you heard from Julia, we're also trying to create this pipeline, this hand holding you while you're going through these internships. We are trying to encourage you to go through these internships and so on. And from the institutional part, we are also doing that in national labs. So what can you do? Here's my summary. my advice to you, the advice I would give myself when I was your age. Find your passion. Have fun and don't get discouraged. If there is a way, just find it, right? I just went to a guy and said, hey, do you have a job for me? Here I am. That's me. And I want to stay here and I want to do my PhD here and so on. And by chance, oh, sure, we can make it happen. If I had been fearful to go to the director and ask him for a PhD, for opportunity to do a PhD, I would have never had that opportunity, right? So just, find a passion, have fun, take risks. Taking an airplane all the way across the ocean was not easy. Going to Grenoble away from my family wasn't easy. Mind you, I come from a traditional family. I was the youngest and I wasn't married. I was expected to take care of my parents when they were elderly. It was really hard to move away because I knew up to a certain point I felt I was betraying my family. But on the other hand, I thought I deserved that. I deserved to be able, that was going to be my parents be very happy and be very proud. And that was the case. So there was this tug of war between family and my education. And I went by the education and my parents were extremely proud about what I was doing. Another thing is to embrace the challenge and the struggle. For the students that came to the camp, I remember their emails when these LEDs turn on after struggling and fighting with the electrical circuit, right? Embrace the challenge, go for it and struggle. Struggle is good. Struggle is not a bad thing. Struggle is good. And when you get out of the struggle, you feel like Wonder Woman. Very, 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 very important. And find your support, your tribe, your cheerleaders, those friends who are gonna make you feel good. Just to keep some distance, those friends that tell you that you're not good enough, or what are you doing? You don't belong there. You belong there. We see you and you belong there. So, keep all your friendships, but keep those who make you feel, who empower you, who make you have wings and make you feel big. Keep those closer than those who make you question yourself. Persist, have grit, and don't give up. And to the students from summer physics camp, I often said this: just keep swimming, right? When life gets you down, just keep swimming. I have all these stickers in my monitor to remind myself to just keep swimming, right? Sometimes we want to, hey, I'm done, I give up. No, you don't give up. And like Nemo, Dory told Nemo, right? Just do it. Also, you're good enough. You are good enough. Turn off the voices in your head. I have those voices too, and I have to turn it off. I just force myself to turn them off. I can do it. I will do it. I'm good enough. So sometimes my kids, they feel the burden. Oh, they think I'm such a magnificent, scientist and everything else. I said, no, I work very hard, dude. I'm not smart. I just work hard. So you're good enough. Just work at it. If you want something, just work for it. Be resilient. Let it slide. So when microaggressions, as I mentioned earlier, happen, just if it's, try to let it slide. And I have this sticker in my office: fish are friends, not food. Very often the bias is not a bias towards Caitlin or Emma or Diana or Mary. Is a cultural bias. So, don't take it personally, and just remind yourself: fish are friends, not food. It's not about you, it's about the culture. And as much as you can, please give back. Give back to the community. Be that role model to your little brother or your little sister or this neighbor or this kid that's struggling in school because her parents cannot help her. My parents couldn't help me in math. They didn't they didn't finish high school, right? Be that role model, and please go and change the world, and tell us all about it, because we love to hear your stories. And that's it from my end. Go and change the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anna. Wow. I'm going to go to the pool now and start swimming.
Yes, just do it.
I know, I'm so fired up.
Yeah, that is great. Now we want to open up for questions. Let's ask Anna the questions that we've been thinking about as she showed us all of that data, all of the slides, her stories. Let's give everybody a minute to think about their question, and then you can type it, or you can
And I
unmute.
swear I have those stickers in my office. I'm at home right now. Otherwise, I would pull them and show them to you.
And Anna, show us your T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. This is a T-shirt of the summer physics camp for young women.
Right,
It
that
keeps-
logo, yeah.
It keeps shrinking.
Anna, we have a question. How did you pick your major?
So, in Spain, you don't actually pick majors. When you go into physics, I don't know, Julia or Diana, in your countries, it's slightly different than here. I went from high school to physics. My first year of physics was physics, chemistry, algebra, and analysis. There is no... Then on my third year, I could go and do more, I don't know, theoretical physics or less theoretical physics, if you want. So we don't have those majors thing. I don't know, Julia, Diana, would you like to? In Europe, I think it's slightly different, or it used to be slightly different.
So Anna, was that because of the high school you went to? So most of your classmates went into that physics, algebra, that kind of a path?
No. High school ended, and my friends went all over to different colleges, right? But once you pick physics, college, universidad, once you go to the degree in physics, you just do physics.
I see.
My best friend
So,
did,
so probably, Anna, like the question was why, how did you choose physics, or why did you choose physics?
I could have been a medical doctor. I could have been going to education by chance. I don't
So
know.
it was your choice to pick the college then.
It was my choice to. So in Spain, you have a test, and also you pick your preferences. It's a public education, so you pick your preferences, and based on your scores and your preferences, then they tell you, well, you go to this school or this school, right? It's a little bit different than in the US. Why physics? Well, I have no memory. So I'm like Dory. That's why I identify myself like Dory. I have no memory. So I felt that medical school, I would have to remember very long names, and I'm incapable of, I just don't have memory. I felt I really enjoy physics and math, because if you understand how something works, you can create that formula again. So it was slightly easy for me to go there, because you need to remember very little, just try to understand how things work, and that's it. So that's why I went into physics. In chemistry, you need to remember a lot of rules, right? Biology, oh gosh, all those names I would have to be able to spell out, and I cannot do spelling. So there's a mixture of things. I can see my best friend went into art history, and I realized that we thought differently. I would learn art history and history in boxes, and I could not connect what was happening in Europe with what was happening in Spain, with what was happening in Catalonia. I cannot connect things, right? In history, while she could connect what was happening around the world. And I just can't. So there's something about our brains, how it works. And for me, physics was easy in the sense that of this memory thing I was telling you. My memory is really bad.
Well, that makes me think that physics is a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah, you just need to enjoy figuring things out. It's like you're a detective, right? There's always a challenge. When my kids get tired when they ask a question, I said, well, that's physics. Why did this got stuck in the pan? Well, it's physics. Why, water got in? Well, that's physics. I can explain it to you if you want, but. So to me, it's a lot about trying to understand things.
Thank you.
I have a question for Anna. What did convince you to move to United States? Was it, how did the process, do you remember how the process went? Like, did you speak with them on the phone, or did they?
No, I just got an email. I was doing neutron scattering and synchrotron and things like that, and muon spin rotation, MUSR, and things like that. So I had been in a lot of very large facilities, and I don't know how they get called on my name. I just got this email. I never visited. I never interviewed. I got an offer and I had to turn down Scotland, and I went on a plane with my Samsonite, right? And that was it. I knew someone that was a postdoc here, and he picked me up in Albuquerque. Just to let you know, after he picked me up and brought me to Los Alamos, which is a 2-hour drive, the following day I went and rented a car. I never driven an automatic car. So I went to Hertz and I rented a car, and I kept going back and forth because I was using the brake as a clutch. So I went back into the Abby's. For those in Los Alamos by the airport, there was a rental place. So I was trying to back with my car, and I was going back and forth like that, tick, because I was using my left foot on the brake, thinking it was the clutch. So that's how clueless, I was. I went into the rental place and I said, "There's something wrong with your car." And they came out and told me to tie my left foot to the seat and only use my right foot. And then I learned to drive an automatic car. My first year, so I rented a small apartment, and one day I was in my apartment and I was hearing all those noises. And I got freaked out, but I didn't know what to do because I didn't know to call 911, right? So I just locked myself in my bedroom. And the following day I got out and I went to the office and I said, last night I was at home and there were people knocking on my door and all these noises. Anna, did you leave your front light on? Yes, of course I leave my front light on. It was Halloween, honey. So it was Halloween and there were kindergartners knocking at my door, making scary noises. And I had no clue. And I thought I was going to die that day. And so, no, there was no planning. It's this thing about taking risks. You don't know what's going to be until you try it, right? I could have stayed in Barcelona. I could have stayed, you know what I mean? It's just take it. And if it doesn't work, you come back. You always have a chance, but you need to take that risk.
Yeah, Anna, what you just said about getting an email and getting an offer, it sounded like you had a reputation that was known out there that you didn't even think of.
I don't know. I don't know. Probably when I asked Alan Hurd, who's a scientist, who was the director of the Lujan Neutron Scattering Center, at Los Alamos. I was a postdoc in another organization, and then I met who became my husband, and I was supposed to go back to Europe for a job in ILL at the Newton reactor, and then I met who later became my husband, and I said, what do? Do I go back to Grenoble to a job, or do I see if I can find a job here? So I went to Alan Hurd and I say, hey, that's my resume. Do you have something for me? I didn't answer to a job ad. I just went and, they were doing neutron scattering. So I'm a neutron scatterer. So, hey, that's me. Do you want, And of course, he offered me several options. Oh, would you like to have a second postdoc? And I was like, I have a job offer in Grenoble. You're offering me a second postdoc? Thank you. I want to be here, but if that's all you can offer me, I'm going to my staff member position in the Newton reactor in Grenoble. Then he told me, what about, staff member, but half sample environment and half instrument scientist? I said, dude, they are offering me an instrument scientist job in the ILL in Grenoble in the reactor. So I had to negotiate. Was I comfortable? No, I was not comfortable. But you need to negotiate. You need to stand up for what you want, right? So then he offered me, a staff member position as an instrument scientist. I don't know. I don't know if it was I don't know what it is.
And of course, in today's environment, it's easy to put yourself out there, whether it's your LinkedIn. So for our students, for example, any online activity will be viewed by everybody, right? If they will research you, they will find it. I see Cassandra nodding her head. Yeah.
So that's something that we tell the students, that everything that you leave on the webs is gonna be searchable. All those funny pictures that they reflect on you up to a certain point, right? it's, and I tell that to my son when I see the TikToks. Oh God. But I tell him one day you're going to apply to be something somewhere, and someone is going to search your name, and is going to find you. And are you going to be proud to say, to defend those pictures? No. So be thoughtful about it. Same with email addresses. Be mindful about what names you use in your email addresses. So be mindful and professional about it. But yeah, one thing, as I say, I'm just a hard worker. I don't feel I'm very smart or very talented. I just work hard.
It's actually not a given, so working hard is one of the key. I hope Anna is still there, because I see she froze.
Yeah, it's just frozen temporarily. Yeah, but I saw Diana, you had posted some things on the chat about staying in touch, and also the different labs that are. Is Diana still here? If Diana, you want to elaborate on that?
Well, Julie said it already. I just put it in writing such that all the labs are mentioned. It's important that we recognize participants. So it's SLAC, Berkeley National Lab, Los Alamos, Fermi National Lab, Oak Ridge National Lab, Lawrence Livermore National Lab, and National Energy Technology Laboratory. And we're hoping Sandia will join us soon as well. And then I'll just restate something we've already said in the beginning, that the SAGE journey consists of multiple steps, right? Starting with the camp, that's really an entrance. And whether you're participating in the SAGE camp or the summer physics camp at Los Alamos.
Did we lose Diana too?
I think I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Good, because I lost too. So we all have poor connections.
And I would like to hear a little bit about our students maybe asking a question.
Well,
I don't want
actually
to
had a
hold on
question.
you.
Oh, sorry, Julia.
Oh, Dominique, go ahead.
I just had a question for the students. Like, how are you? I know we've talked about majors a lot, but I don't know if anyone maybe wants to share how they've chosen their majors for the students who are in college right now, or if you ever had any struggles there, or if anyone right now has any, I guess, worries about going into the STEM fields or physics or math or anything like that. Irene, how did you choose your major? I'm going to pick on Irene because I can see her.
Sorry. For me, I, sorry, I'm gonna get a sip of water.
You're fine. I think it's going around with allergies. Like, I'm doing the same thing with my throat while I'm on mute.
Yep. So for me, I was working in lab when I was junior in high school, and I was working in a lab about biomedical engineering, and that was the first time I was exposed to research, and I noticed that like research is actually something I wanted to pursue. But however, when I got into college, I eventually realized that I'm probably not like really talented, or I'm super good with engineering, and also I'm not super into engineering at the same time. I noticed that I personally is more into social science in some way. So I decided to choose the major psychology, and hoping to continue to do research in this field someday.
That's a lot of fun. I used to love going to the psychology department at Stanford and just looking at all the different studies that they have. Because you can sign up for a lot. That's a good way for like undergrads to get paid. You'd like help with the studies.
Who else is in college and want to tell us a little bit about it?
I see Jenny and Kelly, although Kelly had issues with internet. Jenny, do you want to share with us how you chose your college major?
Yeah, sure. So I initially went into college as a chemical engineering major because I was really interested in chemistry and very fascinated by everything about chemistry. But I wanted to do more than just pure chemistry. And so I chose chemical engineering. And a year in, I realized it wasn't really what I was interested in. I was more interested in like the biology aspect, the more chemistry aspects, and chemical engineering is a lot of physics and math in reality. So I decided to switch to something, to another major within the same college, within the College of Chemistry. I switched to chemical biology. And at the same time, I was also taking CS classes and like data science classes. So I decided to pick a double major in data science because it helps with a lot of fields like in research as well. And nowadays, like data science is getting bigger and like data visualization is very important. So I thought picking a double major would help. So that's how I decided. And just to, I guess something to get out of this is that like what you enter, you don't have to like, it's never too late to change, I guess. Like, so just keep exploring.
Thank you for that reminder, Jenny. It's never too late to change, whether it's a major or whether it's a college. We also have with us Cassandra from Los Alamos that actually handles what, K-12 programs and also internships.
I actually work with high school through graduate level internships. And I do help with some K through 12 things as well. But we have a pretty large internship program at Lanel. During the summertime, we usually host between 1,500 and 1,800 students each summer. And that's at all levels. So we have the high school internship program, which is for students that are in their senior year. And those are students who they need to attend high school in northern New Mexico in order to participate in our senior program. So for those of you who participated in the summer physics camp for young women, I hope you'll look at applying for that program. And then once students are in their second semester of their senior year, they can actually apply to our undergraduate program and intern as an undergrad the summer before they start college, which is a really, really nice option to do some major and or career exploration. So we have internships in pretty much all STEM fields that I can think of right now. The majority of our interns are in engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and then physics. Those are two big categories, but we also have a huge environmental science division, biosciences division, math, statistics, computer science. So lots of different areas. We actually have a really good website with all of our different programs on it. So I'll throw a link in the chat, and I'm going to put 2 links in the chat. We actually host a student symposium every summer and collect together all the information on student projects, and they're organized by discipline. And I'll show you where you can read through those and see what kind of work the students are doing for their internships at Lanel. Each booklet has about 200 examples in it, organized by discipline. So if you have any questions at all, you can get a hold of me and I can help you. And
the important thing is to never stop being curious. How can you pick a major in, I don't know, chemical engineering if you don't know any chemical engineer or you don't know what a chemical engineer does? So that's, you know, figuring out what kind of work involves might help you decide whether you like that route or not. So explore, try internships. Internships are great ways to get your feet wet without committing too much. And another thing I thought about when Lloyd was asking about the reputation, I was trying to think about I don't recall reputation, but then I try to talk to people. So when you are in an internship, or when you are in school, or when you are in college, talk to professors, talk to people. They will remember you. If you stay in a corner because you are shy, and the day you need a reference letter, you won't have people to write those reference letters. Just explore, go out, expose yourself, take the risk, right? Talk to that professor, ask the questions, be curious, tell them you don't know what you want to do and you're wondering if botany is your thing and you were wondering if they would spare a few minutes to talk to you. I think this is really important, that you just expose yourself and go out there. And I think I did that the moment, I think it's when lawyer, I don't know if it was the reputation or the fact that I tried not to be shy about engaging people.
Yeah, both are definitely important, because sometimes it's just you're networking, you're talking to people, you're putting out papers, or you're volunteering to different things, and then your name gets mentioned in different places. So quite often you don't know what impact you're making. You're just doing it because you want to do it, and then other people just see that. But
this is scary to expose yourself. I see it with the summer physics camp. I made this joke with our students, right? The first week I would see the forehead. The second, at the end of the first week I would start seeing their eyes. By the second week, because the summer physics camp is 2 weeks long, I would see up to their nose and so on. It's scary to show yourself, right? To open your heart and show yourself. Well, no pain, no gain. Expose yourself, ask the questions. You are not dumb, you are curious. And people love to answer questions from curious people, right? So be curious. Being curious is a great attribute, because you then are open to everything in the universe, and people will realize that you are thirsty to learn new things. And then when you apply for an internship, or when you apply for a job, and the hiring official asks someone else, hey, do you know this lady Loy or Emma? You say, yeah, she had so many questions, she was very interesting, and so on. So just get out, put the shell away for a little bit.
I also want to remind the students that this SAGE Live that we're having today, we are planning to have more throughout the year. And the one that we're planning for in October is specifically about internships. So we will invite Cassandra again to talk about internships in New Mexico. And then we will also invite the other labs to talk about the internships that they offer. Some offer internships at the high school level, and some are at the college level. And of course, it changes every year. And I think the spirit is now to offer more opportunities to women and young people, and encourage that entrance into the STEM field through the internships. So for example, at SLAC right now, we only have college, but our hope is to eventually expand that in number of internships, but also hopefully high school in the future.
So this year at Los Alamos, we counted 16 students from past summer physics camps for young women were interns at Los Alamos. They were from college students to high school students. And we are here to help you, right? If you apply, you from California, apply for an internship, you know who to talk to, right? Reach out to us, get our names, give us a call, email us, we'll help you.
All right, Anna, and we know where you live, and we know you have 2 kids, so we're going to...
And chicken.
So we say, we heard you say that. So I'm going to end the recording now, and then Anna, Julia, and Diana, if you want to do some closing statements.
Okay, well, thank you, Anna, for the